Hello, the final tutorial for this module will be an overview of the Module 4 resources, formative assessment with apps, low tech, and the tried and true. So when we go to this resource, we will be focusing on Socrative or Socrative. We'll be focusing on Show Me. We'll be focusing on Kahoot. And we will be focusing on Plickers. Sorry, those are out of order, but we'll start with the top here. So the big thing that I wanted to focus on for this portion of the course is focusing on the app environment, because we know that we have classrooms where we have mobile devices, BYODs, bring your own device environments, or maybe an iPad cart, or 5 iPads per classroom. I see a lot of those in my elementary classrooms. So when we think about formative assessment, sometimes it just simply cannot be done in our classrooms because we have a low-tech environment, or we don't have any devices either, which can be the case as well. So I tried to focus on some apps, low-tech options, and the tried and true, so something that has been working in the classroom, something that doesn't require a ton of apps necessarily, or excuse me, devices, but something that can be used over and over and over again. First one we talk about is Socrative or Socrative, depending on how you pronounce it. The big thing about this one, it's been around for a long time. I guess this one could be considered tried and true as well. I just presented on this one at a conference. This is something that I just can't get away from Socrative because Socrative because it's just so easy to use, and the ability to implement it in the classroom, both from the teacher perspective and taking it and using it as a student, it's just really hard to match it. What's nice, so it's in an app environment, or you can use it on your browser. There is a teacher app, so you have your own dashboard, and then there's just a strictly student app, so there's no confusion as to where they're at and how to access the formative assessments that you create. Very easy to use, engage with students on any device or browser. As I said, it's engaging, so you can do a space race, or you can do a true and false. You could do multiple choice, short answer. Just recently I presented it in a way that individuals would post just a short response, and then all their responses would populate anonymously on the board, and then you can use the voting feature to vote on some of the best responses. Now, maybe not necessarily a formative assessment type of thing, but when you think about maybe engaging the entire group and checking for their understanding, and then using the voting feature from Socrative to support a formative assessment of their check for understanding. So now you're voting on different submissions, student submissions, and now students, they don't know who submitted what. Now they can show, now you can truly see, especially if they're voting on the best response, now you can see if they're getting it or not. So that gives you some great feedback. As far as the teacher features, there are clear ways to view and analyze student data. I think that's the case for a lot of these apps, but Socrative does a nice job with that. You can personalize your assessments. You can create them from the ground up, or you could work with your colleagues or your PLN, and you could create quizzes together and share those quizzes. Beauty of this app, it is free, and it has remained free for quite some time. There are thousands of quizzes online, though, that have already been created, and they're updated, and they are being created every now and then they're put on this spreadsheet, so you do have a link to go to those. A couple things about the terms, and this is really important. So when we're thinking about access, when we're thinking about those K5 learners, and in this regard, maybe K8 learners, do they have access to this type of app? The terms state must be 13 years of age or older. However, with teacher or parent legal guardian consent, 13 and under can use it as well. So Socrative might be a good choice, especially to get your feet wet in formative assessment with an app. Another app that is really nice is an interactive whiteboard app called Show Me. Again, another app that has been around for a while, but it has been in competition with something like EduCreations, which is well done. It's a very nice app as well. But where Show Me is definitely a better is better in terms of the free factor. So Show Me is free, allows for a limited number of hours. It's really easy to get into, intuitive, it's powerful. You can record right away. You don't have to go through tutorials or complicated menus. The big thing with Show Me is it's a great way to show what you know and share online. So students are doing that in the interactive whiteboard, and this can be done in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to just be simply show me how you got to the end of an equation necessarily. Maybe they're applying that equation or to an outside real life context, or it can be used in a variety of ways. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just regimented. Show Me really allows for the creativity of the student to shine through. If teachers want to use the Show Me app, they can create the premium account, which they can create groups, and then students can join these groups for free. The next step I was going to talk to you about is called Plickers. This one's a little newer. This is all grade levels, and sorry, the Show Me app is also all grade levels. This is low tech, limited tech environment. Basically all you need is one individual, preferably the teacher, with the device, the smartphone, the tablet, a mobile device where they can get the Plickers app, and then you print off the Plickers cards, and then you can start doing multiple choice questions. And you can use the Plickers app, which can scan the room and you can see where your students are at. It gives you instant feedback, and it's really easy to use. So, where you might use a whiteboard in the classroom, now the Plicker card could replace the whiteboard, could give you multiple choice feedback or true-false feedback from your students. It's anonymous. Students do not know what, especially when you display it on the board, you can display all their responses on the board. Students do not know who is who, and you can anonymize it, so that's nice. The big factor here, and I really appreciate this fact, is it gives all students a chance to participate. So a student in the back of the room all the way to the front of the room, everyone gets a chance to participate. You can do thumbs up, thumbs down. You can do, on a scale of 1 to 5, how well do you get this? But in some regards, that can be biased. There can be a bias that comes through when that type of assessment is going on. In this regard, like I said, it's completely anonymous, and your students can hold up their cards and you can go. It's a quick check for understanding. There was some feedback that because you have this instant feedback, you can support like standards-based grading, see if everyone's there or not. If they're not, now how do we help those students that need help? The ease of use, and especially when you're talking about a low-tech, limited tech environment, there's no logging in time. There's no 40 apps to choose from. Nothing against the apps I've already shared, but there is something to that as well, keeping it simple. The only caveat is you must print off the cards to begin, but they are free and the app is free. And last but not least, Kahoot, which many of you have probably already heard of, and I actually remember some of you have said that you've heard of Kahoot. But the big thing with Kahoot is, why? Why Kahoot? We saw a lot of teachers show how they used Kahoot last year when we hosted teachers at Heartland. A lot of them talked about how fun it was, how it's easy to use, and that's great. But also another thing that is great is Kahoot continually adds features. They've seen how the growth of the use of Kahoot, it's used worldwide. They see that kids everywhere are having a chance to have fun with, reviewing or as a formative assessment, and they're dedicated to improving their product off of that. I recently attended a master class with on Kahoot, which is kind of interesting, but I learned that there's a lot of features that are coming down the pipeline, and a couple of those features they just unveiled this week. Ghost mode is not new necessarily. It's relatively new, but ghost mode, so students can play a game again and again and again, and they can go up against their previous score, hopefully improve upon their scores. You know, the idea with formative assessment gives students an opportunity to self-check and really review the material as they're self-checking and they're having fun as they're competing against the ghosts of all their classmates, which basically those ghosts will then be predictable and they will send in the same response every time. But this helps a student identify which areas they struggle with and they need reteaching. And then lastly, the team mode. So this was unveiled last week. I got the email last week. This is going to take Kahoot from, every student must have a device so they can play, to now you can have teams of 3 and 4, 5. You can have 5 devices in the classroom. You create these teams. It's team-based instead of single player sign-on. And again, this can work great in a lower tech environment. And I know, groups versus groups can be harder to assess individual formative assessment. But, as far as like seeing how well the class understands the content, making it fun, checking for understanding in that regard, I believe that Kahoot team mode will be a game changer for them. So those are the 4 apps for this week. There are certainly more out there. I tried to focus on some that are tried and true, are effective, free, and usually my hope is that I can find the ones that are for at least all the grade levels. Again, remember you need to offer your response, find a testimonial from a vetted and non-vetted resource, and post that in the assignment for Module 4 for this part of the course. Thank you.